a lot of character to them. Some are ultra transparent, and there's a whole wide range in between. And it's a matter of largely just finding what you like. Even the cheapest preamps now are pretty good. If you go in and buy a $100 interface, a $100 Steinberg interface, the preamps in that are not bad.
Not bad at all, actually. I recommend the Steinberg a lot. I think to me, the preamps are better than the Focusrite, for instance, in the comparably priced model. I agree. You can get really nice preamps that'll work just fine on voice alone, for sure.
It used to be back a couple decades ago, maybe the 90s or so, there was a wide difference between professional grade preamps and low-end kind of plug-and-play preamps. And Mackie sort of changed the game on that because they were able to come up with a really solid-sounding preamp for a fraction of the cost of higher-end boutique preamps, and everyone has followed suit since then, and that technology has only gotten better and cheaper. I do still think there's reason to spend more on a preamp if you're at that level in your career and that level with your gear. There are still things you can get out of higher-end boutique preamps, but the differences are a lot more subtle than they used to be, and it's a lot less of a necessity because it used to be about noise, and at this point, pretty much they're all pretty quiet.
Right. So if you had a setup with, and I keep bringing it up, but let's say you've got an NT1 and you've got a 2i2 as your preamp/interface, would that be a significant jump up if you were to upgrade your mic and not upgrade the preamp, or do you have to do them concurrently?
Well, one of the things that you have to be aware of is, are you getting enough gain from your preamp without having to turn that all the way up? Because, as Emmett said, the preamp is designed to boost that extremely low signal coming from the mic. So, you want to have a preamp that you can boost that signal and get as much as you need and still have plenty more to go if you need more, i.e. headroom. So if you're having to turn your preamp all the way up, which is where honestly most of the noise comes from, is because that's like if you were to equate it with plumbing of any sort, it would be like the pump, that's pumping that signal or that water through your plumbing system, and that's the part that makes noise. A microphone can be extremely quiet, but when you add that preamp that has to pump that signal up, that's where the noise comes from. So if you're not getting enough gain out of the preamp that you have combined with the microphone that you have, then you might need to get a better preamp that allows you to get the signal that you need without adding noise, and allowing you to have more headroom available if you should you ever need it.
Right, great. So I'd like to just get on to a little bit of sort of maintenance, day-to-day kind of stuff. So how do you maintain your microphone day-to-day so that it has a nice long life, and how long should your microphone last?
I'll jump in on this one. I'm probably setting a terrible example here, but I don't do much of anything for maintenance with my mics. They're plugged in, they're powered at all times. I don't take them down, so that at any time I can walk into the booth and do my thing. Every couple weeks I'll come in with a Swiffer and dust off the top of them. I always use a pop filter to keep moisture out of the diaphragm, but beyond that, there's not a ton of maintenance that goes into it, and a good mic, well taken care of, with the exception of ribbons and tube mics, will last a long, long time. I mean, decades, eons. If you're not dropping it, you're not banging around. It's not your travel mic. It's set up in a studio and well cared for. There is no reason for it not to last almost indefinitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have to understand, a large diaphragm condenser microphone certainly is going to be more delicate than, say, they use shotgun microphones on film sets. They travel with them. They mount to cameras. They get, dynamic microphones or, live on stages, which is, I spent the first third of my career doing live sound. I mean, these things get complete, drummers hit them with sticks and hard too, right? Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of that, microphones are actually pretty durable. Now large diaphragm condensers, the kind that we use most, of course, are more delicate, but we're also not using them in that same context. So, they're durable enough that, if you just really don't mess around with it too much, you don't drop it, you treat it, nicely, it's probably going to last you indefinitely. Now, obviously, tube microphones, it is better to leave them powered on because that way, what happens is with tube gear of any kind, just like light bulbs, they often blow when you're turning power on or turning power off. Yeah. Light bulbs rarely burn out when they're just on. They just don't go, they just don't blow when they're just on and running. It's that powering up and powering down that really puts a lot more strain on the electronics than anything else. So, I don't consider Emmett's to be a bad example at all, because honestly, I do pretty much the same thing. My mic just sits here and it's on, ready to go, and I travel with I use a 416 and I travel with it, but I know that it's durable. I know that I'm not going to, it's probably not going to really cause me any problems. I obviously make sure that the screws are tight on it and all of that stuff, and that the connection points are clean and things like that. But other than that, I don't really do a whole lot with it. And I actually do keep the windscreen on mine as well for that same reason. Yeah, to keep the moisture out and all of that.
Great. I'm the same. Glad to know that I'm in good company. All right. So indulge me on this final question before I get to audience questions. I'm just interested to know, what is your dream microphone, Emmett?
I'm a huge fan of the Telefunken 251 and many of its clones too. The Bach 251 is great also, and I hear the Peluso's cool, but I haven't used it. But there's something about that mic that just sounds really different to me than everything else out there. Right. And I've never been able to duplicate it with EQ. I've never been able to duplicate it in post. Something kind of magic about it. And so